Hello friends, thank you for joining me today. This is Stephanie from the Wellness Common, and today we're going to talk about 6 stretches and exercises that are helpful for when you're seated for a prolonged period of time. So for instance, we'll think a lot of this as being at work in an office setting, but this also applies if your office is your car, or even if you're on an airplane for a long period of time. So any situation where you are seated for that prolonged period of time. Now before I show you these exercises, as with any exercise program, make sure that you're A-OK to do this from your doctor before you begin. So before we begin, we're going to talk about setting a good foundation. So as some of you may know, when you're seated at your desk, maybe you find yourself slouched a little. Maybe you have a forward head. There's lots of different postures. Maybe you're leaning way back, being slouched. And all of these things really limit our range of motion. As you can see, it takes up energy and we want to be able to free up that energy. So we want to start with a good foundation. First, make sure feet are flat on the floor and really think as though you're being pulled up by a marionette string. So bring your hips in alignment, shoulders over the hips. And you want to think of ears over the shoulders. So really think about tucking that chin back in. That way if you dropped a plumb line, everything would be in alignment. To do this, it's also helpful to think of just gently drawing your belly button in towards your spine to help activate your abdominals. And that will keep you in this better posture. Again, easier said than done. And eventually we do find ourselves back to typical forward head, hunched posture. So to start with these stretches, we'll get into that good foundation of posture. And the first thing that we'll start with is doing a chin tuck. So chin tucks you can do even while you're working on your computer. You can do these anytime. So for a chin tuck, just think of tucking your chin. So really focused on reversing that forward head posture that we get. Just tucking the chin and then relaxing back out. Tuck and relax. So we can do 10 of these, hold for a second, and release. And you'll feel the back of your neck lengthening as you do that, which is really helpful because it's usually in that shortened forward head posture. So tucking the chin can help combat that. Okay, the next thing we'll do stretches out the neck and the shoulders. So you can do this seated or standing. I'll show you in the seated position here. So if I want to stretch out the left side, I'll reverse for you if you're watching this. So if we're stretching out the left side of the neck, we're going to reach long through that left arm. You can also grab underneath the chair, but we'll reach long to start with, and that will help start to lengthen those muscles. And then pretend like you're pouring water out of your ear. So we'll lean towards that opposite shoulder. So now we're really lengthening the neck muscles. And this may feel like a good enough stretch for you. You can also tuck the chin, and that will add an extra stretch component. And if you want a little bit more, or to stretch different muscles, then just gently rotate so you're looking down towards the crease of your armpit. Getting a nice stretch through those muscles. And we'll only stretch here for maybe 5 seconds. If you want to add a little bit extra, you can grab this hand and gently pull down. And these are tiny muscles, so really be careful with this stretch. And then use that free hand again that was helping assist, and just bring your head straight up to start. Then if we want to reverse to the other side, again, reaching long through the arm, pour water out of the ear, tuck your chin, and slightly rotate so your gaze is looking towards that armpit line. If you want a little added stretch, you can gently rest that hand on top of your head. Hold for about 5 seconds. And then use that hand to pick up your head. Good. Another stretch that we can do that really helps with opening up the shoulders, opening up the chest, is just doing a scapular retraction, or think about squeezing your shoulder blades together. So just squeeze the shoulder blades together and release. That squeeze can be for 2 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever feels good. So we'll do 5 of these, squeeze and release. Again, you can still do this while you're standing, doing some other work. Don't have to completely stop what you're doing. We'll do 1 more here. Good. And the next one we'll do, a lot of times when we're seated, whether it's at our desk or in the car, we may notice that our legs kind of go out, and this can shorten some of the muscles in the glute area, like the piriformis. So a nice stretch for that is to cross your leg over your other leg, so ankle just above the knee of the opposite leg. And this alone may feel like quite a good stretch for you. So you can hold this, or if you want a little bit more, make sure that you're not pressing on the knee joint, but keep your hand right above the knee and press down. And as you're pressing down, I want you to push back up with that leg, so you're creating some tension and resistance there. Hold that for about 3 seconds, and then release. So you can also think of this as timing it with your breath. So inhale while you're pushing down with your hand and pushing up with that leg, and then exhale, release. And as you notice through that contraction and release, you'll get a deeper stretch. As you can see, my leg relaxing a little bit more. So inhale, resist, and then exhale, deepen into that stretch. All right, and then we'll do that on the other side. So cross the leg over. You can see this one's a bit tighter for me. So again, hold here if that feels like a stretch. Otherwise, gently press down with your hand, making sure you're not on the knee joint, and then press back up with that leg, resisting on the inhale, and then exhale, releasing into it. Inhale and press, exhale, release and relax. Last one, inhale, and exhale, releasing. Good. Now the next one I'm going to show you standing. So this is a great one, especially if you get a lot of back pain. This can feel good. However, if you have stenosis or any diagnosis like that, being in this extended position is not going to feel good. So again, make sure you're checking with your doctor. So what we're going to do is get in a nice straight line. So my ankles, hips, shoulders, ears, they're all in alignment. And make sure that you're doing this against a surface where the desk won't move. Mine, the desk can move forward, so I'm going to be really careful with this. But we're in a nice plank position. And then basically you're doing an exercise known as either upward dog or a Mackenzie press up. So I'm actually going to drop my hips forward, so I'm going into an extension pose for my back. So that feels really good, especially if you tend to slouch and round forward. We'll just hold this for a count of 10. Make sure your abs are engaged. Holding this position. Good, and then really draw those abs, leading with your hips to safely come back up. And then the next thing, or the last thing that we'll do, is we're going to do a waiter's bow, and that's going to help with stretching out those hamstrings that tend to be very shortened when we're in a seated position for a long period of time. So for the waiter's bow, think of it like you're a waiter. So in this position, just hinge forward at the hips, so your butt goes straight back. Keep a nice flat back, so you're leading down with your chest, keeping head in alignment, and just holding that stretch. And this may look different. Maybe this is as far as you can go for what's comfortable, or you may be able to go deeper into that stretch. Doesn't matter. Just hold that for a few breaths. Really keeping your gaze down, so we're lengthening the back of your neck. Good. And then coming all the way up out of that. Now, a few other things that are helpful during the work day when you're seated for sometimes hours at a time. One thing that can be really helpful is fidgeting. So studies have shown that fidgeting really does help increase circulation. So we're not just stagnant and sitting still for hours at a time. Fidgeting, of course, you want to be mindful of other people around you if you share office space. So some easy ideas may just be lifting your heels up and down, or doing circles with your ankles. Different things like that can help with pumping the blood that may be settling in your lower extremities to get that back up through your system. Another thing I like to do is just alternate squeezing my glutes. The only reason why I alternate is because I feel like it's more noticeable, like I'm bouncing if I squeeze them both at the same time. So I feel like I'm a bit more sly when I do every other one. But that's helpful. I do that a lot on plane rides too, where you don't have a lot of room to move. So basic things like that with fidgeting movements can be really helpful. Another thing is just walking, getting up, walking, even if it's a 2-minute break, whether it's getting up to go to the restroom and then maybe taking an extra lap, all of that is really helpful. As far as implementing these ideas can be a whole nother story. So I understand sometimes we get into the flow, we get busy, or maybe it's frowned upon to be away from your desk for a while. So if you're able to set an alarm to remind yourself and stand up to do a few of those stretches, or if you don't want to set an alarm, even remembering to do them every time you get up to use the restroom, or even starting with doing them at your AM break one time and then at your PM break another time, so that morning, afternoon. Any additional movement is going to be helpful. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you liked it, please like it and share it. And for other great wellness tips, please visit me at thewellnesscommon.com. Thanks.